Welcome. This session we're going to really focus on easing into your day. So it's a nice slow session that will take things at your pace and is a great way to start off your day. Okay, so you might benefit this practice having a couple of blocks. We're going to be using these throughout the next few moments or so. So if you don't have any blocks available, a couple of thick books will do just as well. So come to sit on the centre of your mat and we're going to place the blocks. If you cross your legs, we're going to start to place the blocks against the soles of your feet. Now, the angle of those blocks will vary a little depending on how you cross your legs, but we're looking to just gently find a place where we can press our feet into the blocks and maybe provide some support for the knees. So as we come to Sukhasana, you can have a little play around with crossing at the ankles or the shins, whatever feels good for you, but find that area of support just so you don't feel like your knees are hanging. And then you may also want an additional block underneath your sacrum if you want to lift your sit bones. And once you've found that place of ease, we call Sukhasana easy pose, although it isn't particularly easy, it's a place that we try to find ease. Start to lift through your head, neck, spine, dropping the chin slightly, closing down the eyes, and finding a softness in the palms of your hands. Start to tune into the rhythm of your own breath, feeling that soft ebb and flow as the air is drawn in and leaves the lungs. You may want to think of this transfer of oxygen throughout the body as an energy source, so that each time we draw that breath in, we can feel our energy levels being rejuvenated. So stay with your own breath for a moment or two. Slowly letting that chin drop to the chest. We're going to release the hands down to the mat. Just bring your right hand and your left hand each side of the body. Inhaling, reaching one arm up and overhead, and exhaling, keeping your sit bones on the mat, just reaching over. So be mindful of the opposite sit bone. If it wants to try and leave the mat, just draw yourself back up. Maybe don't come over quite so far. And then we're going to take that front arm and reach it slightly forward. So it's reaching away from its opposite sit bone. So inhaling and exhaling, just let that right shoulder drop down a little. And then keep going. So we're now going to take this right arm forwards, let it follow with the left. So you've got both hands in front of you on the mat. Take an inhale to lift the chest slightly, and exhale, let the chin drop and round the spine. Again, just try to keep your sit bones either rooted down on the block or the mat for a moment. Gentle hip release here. So we're going to work our way around to the other side. So slide your right hand round. This time slide your left to reach over that right arm. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, really pin that opposite sit bone down. Feeling that stretch all the way underneath the armpit, across the side waist. And then let's take it to the side now. So take your right hand down to the mat, peeling back that top shoulder. So this will really start to open out the chest. Stay with that breath. And we're going to make our way back to centre. So going back to that corner first, and then take both hands around to the centre. either letting the forearms come down to the mat if that's accessible, or simply placing your palms down, round in your spine, folding and hinging at the hips, not at the spine, and allow that head to drop. So just spend a couple of minutes deepening this pose to whatever feels good for you, particularly if you have just got up in the morning. We can feel quite a lot of stiffness sometimes in the body, so take your time. Using our next inhale, we're slowly going to draw that head, neck, spine up nice and tall. Let's just pop those blocks to one side for now. Bring the body around into an all fours position, and then sink the heels back, the hips back onto the heels, reaching those arms in front of you. So we're in an extended child's pose, but we're looking towards the fingers. So just stretching through the arms, extending the elbows, spread your fingers so we've got that good contact with the mat, and then start to ripple the body forwards, rounding the spine, and allow those hips to come down. Inhale, cobra, and then pick the hips up, start to round through the spine. Send the hips back to the heel, keep that spine nice and rounded, and this time tuck the chin to the chest. So slowly, let's go through that again, rounding through the spine, pressing down with your shins. Let those hips come through, take the chest up, and then peel back all the way into your extended child's pose. Now the next time we come through, we're going to make our way to upward facing dog. So as you press into the shins, press into the fronts of the feet, lift the knees, lift the thighs, and look either straight ahead or up. Really extend through the elbows, big breath here, and let those knees come down as we round through the spine. Back to your extended child's pose. Slide your forearms forwards, rooting them down onto the mat, keeping your fingers nice and spread. Take your hips high and find puppy pose. So as we find our puppy pose, you might want to make some adjustments in the width of your elbows. You may want to tuck your chin in, bringing the forehead down to the mat. But see if you can keep your palms nicely spread so there's lots of support. So remember, wherever we're touching the mat, that's where we need to be grounding down. And then we're going to take the hips forwards and find Sphinx pose. So allow the lower body to come down. Relax anything you can. So if you can, just let go of the lower body. That's great. Tuck the chin under. So let the head drop here. Really see if you can feel that lovely stretch through the back of the neck. Gently just pressing into the elbows, pressing into the hands, so that we're not letting the shoulder blades slide together. We're still letting the shoulder blades feel a little bit apart from each other. So we don't want the chest to drop down. Keep that chin tucked. We'll feel a nice stretch through the back of the neck. And then slowly releasing the head back to center. Just walking your hands back up so that you find your way into all fours. We're going to now work through our cat-cow. So inhaling, dropping the belly, lifting the chest, exhaling, starting to ripple through the spine as we tuck that tailbone right under and allow the chin to come to the chest. So a nice spinal release here. Couple of rounds of your cat-cow. The next time you come to a neutral spine, Bump your hips to the left and start to look over your left shoulder. So we're now getting a stretch, a lateral stretch through the spine. So look over, around, as if you're looking around to your tail. Try to keep both elbows extended. Don't bend one elbow. And stay with your breath. Slowly come back to centre and don't be in a rush to move to the next side. When you come to centre, just pin that belly button back up to the spine to ensure we haven't dropped the chest. And then bump the hips to the right and start to look over your right shoulder. Slowly bring yourself back to centre. We're going to walk the feet towards the hands. Slowly make your way into your first forward fold, Uttanasana, releasing those hands to the mat or holding on to opposite elbow, whatever feels good for you. And particularly if you have just got up, you might feel you want to have your knees generously bent, particularly if your hamstrings are feeling quite tight. Find some support for that chest. Let the head drop. Take a moment or two to check in with how you feel. See what your body is asking for just now. And if it's asking for some movement, then maybe you want to gently move the upper body right and left. Just finding some small release here. When you're ready, release those hands to the mat, slowly making our way into our flat back extension. So reaching the crown of the head away from the tailbone. Inhaling and exhale to forward fold. Start to ripple through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Gently pressing into those heels as you make your way into Tadasana. Turn your palms to face forwards, roll your shoulders back and down. And find your breath. Inhale, take your arms up and overhead. Let's swan dive the body all the way down to your forward fold. Inhale, flat back extension. Really reach that crown of the head away. Exhale, forward fold and ripple through the spine once more as you come back to Tadasana. Turn the palms to face forwards. Now pick your left leg up and send it all the way back, opening out the hips. So we're coming into a wide goddess pose. So you'll want your feet a generous hip width apart with the toes facing outwards. So knees aligned over toes. Inhale, let's take the arms wide, spreading the fingers. So feel a really nice spread across the chest. And as we exhale, we're going to bring those palms together and bend the knees, seeing if you can keep your knees roughly tracking over your toes. So if you feel like they're coming inwards, try to draw them back and peeling open your thighs whilst you're keeping that sit bone rooting downwards. Now stay in your goddess pose, bringing your hands to Anjali Mudra if that's comfortable. And find your breath. So it may be that you want to ease out a little. It may be that you want to deepen this pose. So just rather than worrying about what it looks like, let's really tune into how it feels. What does your body ask you to do just now? If it feels good to go deeper, that's great. If it feels good to ease off a little, that's great too. Now everybody inhale, take those arms wide as we extend both knees. Big breath here. We're going to come back down into our goddess pose. Again, bringing the thumbs to the heart center in Anjali Mudra. This time we're going to bring the right elbow to the right, inside the right knee, and look up or straight ahead. If you can keep those thumbs on the heart center, trying to peel open that top shoulder. Inhale back to center, hold here for a full breath. Slowly releasing the hands, extending the arms nice and wide, including your fingers as you extend through the knees, lengthening the legs. Let's come back to that goddess pose in Anjali Mudra once more when we're ready to move on to the twist on the other side. So keep those thumbs locked onto your sternum as you take the left elbow, this time, to the left knee, drawing back that top shoulder and maybe looking up. Full breath. Keep the legs where they are as you come back to center. Try not to move them if you can. And then we release as we extend the arms nice and wide. Feel that lovely stretch through the legs. Now dial both feet facing to the right of your mat. Bend your right knee and find your way into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So sinking down that right knee, looking towards the right fingertips. We're going to take the left arm forwards, making your way into Warrior 1. So the hips will follow the shoulders as you take your arms up and overhead. Start to sink a little more in that front knee if you can. And just stay here for a steady breath or two. So we're not rushing through into our poses. We're taking our time, finding our alignment, finding our breath. We're going to reverse that. So take that left arm all the way back, pointing those palms downwards as you find your way into your Warrior 2. So your hips and shoulders are now facing the long side of the mat. Turn your palms to face the front as you extend through both legs. We're going to make our way into Trikonasana now. So hinging at the hips, making this big windmill movement, and your blocks might be still handy, would be great. Bring that inside the front foot, pressing the hand into the top of that block at whatever level feels good for you. So have a play around with that. Peeling back in that top hip. So your left hip is really starting to draw open. Your shoulder and your chest are drawing open as you reach that top arm up, maybe looking up to the top hand. Keep rooting down in both feet. Take your eye gaze down towards your right foot. Bend that right knee and take the arms, returning once more into Warrior 2. Full breath. Inhale, let's bring the palms back to center as we bring both legs long. We're going to take that block with us because we know where we're going to head. So you can pop that block there already. So dial both feet now around to the other side of your mat, the left side of your mat, and find Warrior 2 on the other side. So just taking your time, opening that chest and that back hip. So your right hip's nice and open, and start to take your eye gaze over your left fingertips. So we're going to see if we can make this transition where we bring the right arm forwards and the right shoulder, of course, will follow. And let's see if we can get the right hip to also follow. Both feet stay where they are as you make your way into Virabhadrasana 1. Warrior 1. So now the hips and shoulders are facing the front of the mat. We're still rooting down in that back leg, and the front knee hasn't changed. So we're going to reverse that once more. So taking the right arm back, open out, back into your Warrior 2. Palms are facing down. And as you turn your palms to face forwards, we're going to extend both legs. So my feet haven't moved throughout all of this. Keep your feet rooting down. Start to windmill those arms all the way down to find wherever your block is and adjust that block to the height that's suitable. And you can draw your legs closer together. That might be a little bit more accessible as we draw the top shoulder back, Drawing the top hip, this right hip as back as much as we can, feeling the chest nice and open, maybe looking up towards those top fingertips. All the time feeling that engagement through both feet. Take your eye gaze down to your right foot, your left foot, apologies, your front foot. Soften that left knee and take your hands back to your warrior two before taking your legs nice and long. Just going to remove that block out the way and start to heel toe your feet closer this time so that they're coming into a Hindi squat. Hands in Anjali Mudra and start to bend the knees, sending your tailbone down. Just finding a place where you can come to your squat. So an option here, because we're taking it a little bit easier today, might be to bring a block underneath your sacrum. And I'd encourage maybe everybody to give this a try first. Find out what's happening with your heels. Do you need a little bit of support underneath the heels? Now, by using a block under your sacrum, it might help you to lift that chest a little higher. Because we've got our tailbone supported, we may feel that this is easier and feels more comfortable on our lumbar spine whilst we're getting a deep flexion of the hips. And we're working still really hard here. So there's no reason that we can't use our malasana, use a block underneath for our malasana, which is what I'm going to do today. So closing the eyes now, even whilst we've got our thumbs at our heart center, let's see if we can visualize those shoulder blades hugging into the back body. Coming back to the breath. Just visualizing those energy levels being maintained by this wonderful practice that we're doing today. And then gently, when you're ready, opening your eyes, flip your block so that it's flat, and we're going to make our way back into seated pose, any cross-legged pose, where your sit bones are supported and slightly elevated, lifting your head, neck, spine, allowing the palms to gently allow that heat and energy to radiate from them as we close down the eyes and close today's short practice, which I hope will help you to start the day, or whatever point you decide to do this, easing our way into our day. Bringing our palms together at our heart center and thanking ourselves for making this time and working together. Namaste.